Welcome back to Extra Holiday Games. I'm Extra Holiday, and we've been getting a little philosophical in the last few episodes. I don't know if that'll stop here, because honestly, I don't really have much else to talk about when it comes to this level in this game. At that point, my mind just goes to, it's just life, how life is. Because, hey, guess what? That's something we can all relate to. We're all living, more or less. So, what else is something that we can all relate to? At least many of us. Maybe not all. Definitely not all, but many of us can relate to. Work. I do have work technically tonight, being that it is 5 a.m. roughly. I'd look down at my... Okay, hold on. Yeah, 5:30. 5:30 a.m. So yes, tonight I have to work. And it's fine, right? Like I don't hate my job or anything. But it is a bummer. I would much rather, if I could stream every day instead, or stream every day that I would normally be working instead, I would do that. Or like work on, the channel or whatever. If I could do that, spend, because I work 10.5-hour shifts. I work 4 of them a week. If I could spend the 10.5 hours streaming or working on my channel 4 days a week, I'd be significantly more okay with that. But I can't really. Because, as much fun as this is, it's, I've said it before, and you can probably guess. This ain't paying the bills. Certainly not paying the bills. Someday it will. But, for now, I must carry a day job, like most people. Which is unfortunate. It kind of sucks that we live in a world where we can't just make a living, or we can't all just make a living doing what we want. Or rather, that's just not the case. Because, maybe we could. We might be able to manage at this point in history. Because you know what? We've never really been more productive than we are now when it comes to, history, right? If you think about back in the days where people first started farming, where agriculture first took off, they didn't make a lot of food. Like, they made enough to, feed themselves and their family on one farm. And they would use, a ton of land to do that. And it wasn't very efficient. But now we have ways that are incredibly efficient of harvesting or growing and harvesting food. It's perhaps a controversial statement, but I do believe that we have the resources at this point in time to provide food, water, and shelter for every living being on the planet. Or not every living being. Every human being, I should say. Maybe every living being, but most of them already have homes. Because, they're animals and they live in the wilderness. Which is fine. We don't have to domesticate all the animals in the world. In fact, we probably shouldn't. But the point is, I do truly believe that if all the resources were put in the right spots, we could absolutely feed every mouth in the world, or every human mouth in the world. Again, I want to emphasize animals maybe out of the equation, but because there's just so much. I mean, this is just the easiest reason to point out that there's just so much that goes to waste in terms of food, water, and land. There's just so much that just gets tossed out, and yeah, technically a lot of it ends up being recycled into, you know, other food for other creatures or what have you, but there's just no way. There's no way at this point in time that we haven't hit a point where our productiveness is still being outpaced by the population. Like, yeah, the population is growing faster than it ever has, more or less, particularly in the past 100 years or so. But so is productivity, right? And the thing is, this sort of thing probably couldn't be achieved, to wrap this back around to my other point. Probably couldn't achieved without at least someone not doing a job that they don't like, or not doing a job that they like. You know, doing a job that they don't like. It couldn't be achieved without someone doing a job that they don't like. Most likely. But I think this idea that... how do I want to phrase this? There's this idea that there's a very specific amount of work that you should have to do to make, basically to earn your living. And then, more or less, I think that is true. But I think that there's also space, plenty of space, even now, for people to move to things that they would rather be doing, and for the world to still be okay, you know? I made it here with the frog suit. Wow. Okay. Hop, 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 hop. Oh, I almost got it. Oh, that was almost the level. As I was saying, I think a lot of the strife in our current world comes from hoarding, really, and people hoarding resources. Because, I mean, largely because, you know, they can make money off it. You know, if they keep it to themselves, then they can sell it, and if they sell it, then they can have more money, and then, well, if they have more money, they're a better person, and yeah. That's kind of the weird dilemma I believe that we're in. And I mean, at this point, you could probably align me with, you know, you're probably getting a sense of some of my more political leanings. As with many people my age, and I'm not contributing this solely to my age, by the way. I'm not completely satisfied with the system as it is. And while I don't wish for anything super radical to happen, I do think there's a lot that could be changed for the better. Ideally, I'm basically, ideally, in my mind, everyone would have at least enough to get by, you know? Regardless of their capability. Because I think, again, I think we live in a world that could do that. But because of history, basically, and how, basically because we're coming from times where that wasn't the case, right? Because that definitely wasn't the case for a long time, for most of history. People are still in the mindset of, I gotta keep everything to myself because, you know, things could collapse at any second, and then, how would I survive? Meanwhile, things are collapsing for other people who are arguably just as important. But they just don't get anything because circumstances, usually. Why did I hop over? That was so close. I'm getting close. I'm getting close to beating this level. I'm also getting close to being called a communist, but whatever. Or socialist. People tend to equate those two, and they're not actually the same. There are similarities, but they're not the same. And I wouldn't consider myself an expert on, you know, political systems, but I know at least that much, that communism and socialism are not the same. But at the very least, they have different definitions. Okay. All right. I don't identify as either of those, really. I don't know that I really identify as a capitalist either, but I certainly live in a capitalist system. And thus, I at least, for the sake of survival, I kind of have to abide by many of the same rules. So, yeah. I don't know. This is... I wouldn't expect me to go into this subject much more often, because it's not something that I like talking about, truly. Particularly when people are actually listening. But it is something I think about. I think it is something that is worth thinking about. Like, on occasion at least. Like, it's not truly worth super stressing over. Because there's only so much you can do about it, right? Center. Cool. But yeah. Yeah. It's a fun world we live in. And I suppose it's partly my job to make it more fun. And by that I mean actually fun and not the sarcastic fun that I just used. But I'll see what I can do, you know. Just like anyone else, I've only got so much power. And I guess sharing my ideas is kind of exercising what power I do have. It's rough. But yeah, I mean, I'm not super stressed about it. Because ultimately, the majority of the power is not in my hands. Right, that's the nice thing about not having power, is that you also don't have the responsibility that comes with it. Of course, some people have the power and don't have the responsibility that comes with it. Or rather, the responsibility doesn't really line up with what their power is exactly. Once again, intentionally being vague. Damn it. Alright, I'm gonna give this level one more go before the end of the episode. If we beat it, we beat it. If we don't, we don't. I mean, if we don't, we do it next time. That's not the official next time. We're not going to the next episode yet. Still need to finish this attempt. That's death, because I jumped too late. Okay. Now we're going to next time. Because, as for this episode, that's a wrap. I'm a social capitalist.